Hello! Today's story is called The Earth Inside Out, Part 1. Our learning targets are to review the features of the Earth, identify the layers of the Earth and describe the crust, demonstrate an understanding of the word layer, write a letter about the Earth's crust, and then identify whether items are in, on, or above the Earth's crust. Okay? Our key vocabulary: core, crust, eroded, layer, and mantle. So the core is the center of the Earth. So this right here where the arrow is pointing to. It is impossible to journey to the Earth's core because it is too hot for humans. So similar to how we can't go to the sun because it's too hot and we burn up, we can't go to the core of our Earth or the center of our Earth because it is too hot. Crust, not like the crust on your sandwich, but the crust of the Earth is the outermost layer. So it is the part of the Earth that is on the outside. So where it's pointing, okay? The workers drilled a few inches into the Earth's crust. Eroded is a verb, and eroded means wore away. Wind and sand eroded the writing on the Sphinx. We can see right in here, you see those cracks, they're kind of like holes, and you can see almost it looks like there was maybe water here one time, and you can see how it kind of caves in. Okay, that is where it eroded. Layer is a noun, and a layer is a part that lies over or under another part. So if you look at this cake, you can see all the different layers. We've got chocolate, and then maybe some icing, and then probably some cake, icing, 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 cake. Yum, now I want cake. All right, and then mantle. Mantle is the layer of the Earth that is between the crust and the core. So remember, we said the core was the center, the crust was the outside, the mantle is in between those two, okay? The mantle is the layer beneath the Earth's crust. So we've got crust, mantle, core, okay? All right, so what is the Earth covered by? What is on the surface of our Earth? What do we have? Land and water. And what does Jerry, the geologist, study? What does he study? The Earth, right? And the Earth is mostly made up of rocks, so he mostly studies rocks. All righty, let me grab my globe. Maybe. Okay, here's my globe. So, which is the North Pole? Up top or down below? The North Pole is the northernmost part of the Earth, okay? And so it's on the top right here, okay? What about the South Pole? Where is the South Pole? That's right, down here, the bottom or southmost point of the Earth. All right, now there is an imaginary line that runs around the middle of our Earth and divides the Earth into two equal halves, a northern half with the North Pole and a southern half with the South Pole. Okay, where is that imaginary line? It's right in the middle. Do you remember what it's called? The equator. Okay. Now, what in 3 important words did Jerry the geologist say to remember when thinking about geology? We had hand motions for them. I'll give you a hint. This was the first one. Heat. What about pressure and time? So we have heat, pressure, time. Do it with me. Ready? Heat, pressure, and time. Okay. So what do these three important words have in common when we're talking about geology? They all cause the earth to change, okay? You have learned about the surface of the earth. What does the surface of something mean? If I say the surface, what does that mean? It means the top layer, right? So remember our key vocabulary. We have core, which was the very center of the earth. We had the crust, which was the surface of the earth or the outermost layer. Eroded, which means the wind and the water washed away the land or parts of the land. Layer, which just means stacked on top of each other. And then we had the mantle, which was it was in between the core and the crust. So if this is our core, then would be our mantle, then would be our crust. Okay? All right, time for our read aloud. Quickly, if I said that something is in something, if I said that my glasses are in my glasses case, where is it going to be? Here, here, or here? Here, in means inside, okay? What about if I said my glasses are on my glasses case? Would it be here, here, or here? It'd be here, right? On the surface. And what if I said above? My glasses are above my glasses case. Would it be here, here, or here? Here, right? Okay, so I want you to listen carefully to find out what is inside the earth. Hello, Jerry the geologist here again. I woke up this morning and started digging this hole in the ground. Each time I push my shovel into the earth, I bring up a load of soil. I've noticed that each load of soil has a few rocks in it. I am digging this hole today to teach you about the outer layer of the earth. So remember that the earth has layers. Sort of like a sheet and a blanket are different layers of covers on the bed. What other things have layers? Cake. What else? Cake has layers. Onions have layers. Some fruits like peaches have layers, okay? What does Jerry study if he is a geologist? If Jerry is a geologist, what is it that he's studying? Rocks and the earth. What do the parts of the word geology mean again? What does geo mean? Earth. And what about ology? The study of. Beneath your backyard, the sidewalk, the school, actually beneath almost every place people live, there is soil, which is sometimes called dirt. Different types of soil appear in the Earth's layers. Each layer of soil is made of different things, which can give it a different color or texture. Texture is what something feels like when you touch it. So if you touch the globe, it's kind of slick, okay? It's smooth and it's slick. If I take my finger and I put it down it's bumpy, okay? So those are textures. The thickness of soil varies or is different depending on where you live. In some places on the earth, the soil is several feet thick, okay? So it can be a couple inches or it could be several feet, okay? In other places, the earth is just a few inches, and in some places, the earth has no soil at all. Here, where I live, the soil is rich and dark near the surface. However, as I dig deeper into the earth, I can see a definite change in color. Here, the word change means to become or make different. The color in this soil has changed from dark brown to bright red. That color change means I have reached a layer of reddish clay. It's getting a little harder to dig now, so I'll have to use my pickaxe. In the picture, do you see the difference in the color? So we've got his dark brown, and then down here it starts to get red, right? Clank! My pick just hit something really hard below the red clay. The farther down I go, the harder the clay becomes. Pretty soon I will hit bedrock, a solid layer of hard rock that I won't be able to dig through with my shovel. Okay. I dug this hole to show you that there are different layers of soil and rock beneath your feet. The farther you go into the earth, the more things change. The dark soil on top is fairly easy to dig into with a shovel, but the deeper layer of clay is harder to dig because it has been compacted or squished by the weight or pressure of everything above it. Remember, pressure is one of 3 words that Jerry said we should keep in mind. Pressure, or pushing, from top layers is one reason deeper layers of soil are harder to dig. This diagram shows you what the inside of the earth would look like if you could cut out a big chunk of it. The crust is the outermost layer of the earth, represented here by a thin brown line. Do you see that line? I have been digging into the very outermost portion of the crust today. Most of the earth is rock, and most of that rock is beneath the crust in the other 3 layers. The mantle, which is the red part, the outer core, which is your orange, and then the inner core, which is the yellow. The distance from the surface where you and I live all the way to the middle of the inner core is nearly 4,000 miles. So if we tried to dig all the way down to the core, which we wouldn't be able to, but if we could, it would be 4,000 miles, okay, that you would have to dig. The distance from the surface of the to the middle of the inner core is 1,000 miles more than the width of the United States. Okay, so the United States is this little blue chunk. So if you took that and then you gave it another 1,000 miles, that is how many 4,000 miles would be. Okay, pretty crazy to think about. That means that we have one thick planet. Okay. I will teach you more about the mantle, outer core, and inner core next time. For now, let's focus on the thinnest layer, the crust. The Earth's crust is between 3 and 20 miles, depending on where you are on the Earth. Okay. Most people, plants, and animals live on the surface, or the outermost edge of the crust. Remember, the Earth's surface is covered by oceans and continents. Everything alive on Earth lives in, on, or above these oceans and continents on the crust. For example, you and your dog live on the crust. Worms and moles and on the other hand, live underground or in the crust. Birds fly in the air above the crust, and fish swim in the water that is flowing on the crust. The crust is where geologists like me look to learn about the history of the Earth. In the crust, we find different layers of rock, which teach us about different periods of time in Earth's history. Remember that the Earth is over 4,500,000,000 years old. Each layer of rock was formed during a different period of time in the Earth's history, so we can study each layer to learn about each period of time. That's pretty cool. So you can learn from the different layers of the Earth. Of the crust and the Earth. Yeah. You can learn about different times of the Earth. The kitty just got the zoomies. All right. Geologists search the crust for clues about the history of the Earth. I already introduced you to this place called the Grand Canyon. Here, the geology of the Earth's crust sits like an open book waiting to be read. An open book is a saying that means something is easy to learn or understand, okay? Layer upon layer of different rocks tell the geologist when this place was covered with a cool ocean and when it was not. So the Grand Canyon makes it easy for geologists to learn about the Earth's crust because of all the layers that are visible or easy to see, right? You see the different layers. You can even see the different changes in the colors, right? And not all those layers are the same thickness either. Geological or earth changes can do all sorts of tricky things to the rocks on the Earth's crust. These formations in Arches National Park in the state of Utah show what thousands of years of rain, wind, and ice can do to this type of stone. That's pretty cool. Miss Burbage went to Utah. We should ask her to show us some pictures. I'm sure she saw some pretty cool rocks. Some rocks are mysterious. This is called Uluru or Ayers Rock. It is the only tall thing in an otherwise flat, barren grassland in the middle of Australia. Geologists figured out that this is a remnant left over from a time when the entire surface there was covered in this type of rock. A remnant is something that is left over or remaining. Eventually, all the other rock eroded due to wind, rain, and only this one mound of rock remained. So the wind and the rain wore away all the other rock. Okay. Different places tell different stories. Not all interesting rocks are above ground. This photo was taken down in a cave. A cave is a large hole or space underground. A cave is basically an area in the Earth's crust that has been hollowed out for one reason or another, usually as a result of underground water flowing in and dissolving the rock over millions of years. Caves are really amazing places to explore. People usually don't think too much about what is happening underground, deep below our feet. But the fact is that what happens deep underground has everything to do with what we see in the world around us. Next time, we will take a closer look about what's happening in those other layers. I'd better go ahead and fill in this hole now. See you next time. All right, guys, go ahead and take a wiggle break if you need one, and then come right back. All right, so what is the Earth mostly made of? What is it made of? Rock, okay? And where is most of that rock located? Is it on the crust or is it inside? Inside, right? What is the name of this outermost layer, the one that we live on? The crust. What about this next layer? What about the red? Do you remember? Starts with an M. Mantle. What about these next two? These next two together make up the core. So this is the outer core, and this is the inner core. Was Jerry digging in the crust, mantle, or core? The crust. On which layer of Earth do we live? The crust. So, what kinds of things are found in the crust? Soil, rocks, small animals like moles or worms. Okay. Why do geologists study the layers of rocks in Earth's crust? Why do they study it? What can it tell us? It tells us about the history of the Earth, right? Different periods of time in Earth. Okay. All right, word work time. So, in the read aloud you heard, I am digging this hole today to teach you about the outer layer of the Earth. Say the word layer with me. Layer. Can you whisper it? Layer. Can you mouse voice it? Layer. A layer is a part that lies over or under another part. Okay. I spread a layer of peanut butter on the slice of bread. What's the word that we're talking about? Layer. I'm going to describe a couple different layers of something. You're going to decide which layer you would prefer. Be sure to use the word layer in your answer and answer in complete sentences. Would you rather have a layer of mustard or a layer of ketchup on your hamburger? I'd rather have a layer of mustard. Would you rather walk barefoot on a layer of rocks or on a layer of grass? I'd rather walk barefoot on a layer of grass. Rocks would hurt. Would you rather wear one layer or several layers of clothing? That one depends. If it's summer, then I would rather wear one layer. But if it's winter, I'd probably like to wear multiple layers. Would you rather the ground be covered with a layer of snow or a layer of leaves? Ooh, this one's easy for me. I would rather the ground be covered in a layer of snow because I love the snow. Would you rather dig through a layer of soil or a layer of rock? I would definitely prefer to dig through a layer of soil because the rock would be really hard to dig through. All right, guys, let's make sure we hit our learning targets for the day. Did we review features of the Earth? Yep. Did we identify layers of the Earth and describe the crust? Yes, we did. Did we demonstrate an understanding of the word layer? You are going to write a letter about the Earth's crust. Okay, so you can write a letter to someone in your family and tell them what you learned about the Earth's crust. And did we identify whether items were in, on, or above the Earth's crust? All right, guys, awesome job. See you next time.